Now, I'm really excited to introduce you to the speaker today. Kaylin Marcotte is the founder and CEO of Jiggy. So Jiggy is a direct-to-consumer jigsaw puzzle brand on a mission to modernize and elevate the humble jigsaw and support female artists around the world. Now, prior to launching Jiggy, Kaylin founded Village Strategies, which is a marketing consultancy. She was also the first employee at the Skim, running its community marketing, social media, and Skim ambassadors. Kaylin holds a BA in poli-sci at economics from Barnard College. She lives in Brooklyn and spends her free time doing jigsaw puzzles, of course, and running a 30-day plastic-free challenge program with her sister, Mackenzie. So welcome, Kaylin. We're so happy to have you join us today. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about you before we get started with the questions?
Thanks so much. No, that really covered it. Great intro.
Thank you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey. This business is such a fun idea. My late grandmother was a huge fan of puzzles. And so I was able to kind of keep those as a part of my, my activities list far longer than I feel like a lot of people do. But let's talk about it. Where can you explain your business idea to us and maybe where it came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of similar to most people had done puzzles as a kid, always had kind of fond memories and great family time and bonding, but really had lost them in my adult life until I was super stressed out, just burning out. I worked at the Skim, as you mentioned. So my first kind of entry into the startup life and just on screens 24/7. And so I kind of rediscovered my love of puzzles then as really more a form of meditation and self-care and stress relief. And I found it very in a product kind of healthy way, just total like tunnel vision, very present and focused on this one task in front of me. So I started doing puzzles every single week, and all the ones I could find, were kind of the cheesy stock photography and landscapes, watercolors. And I really wanted kind of more modern puzzle experience. And so that's kind of when the seed planted. And then I started thinking about how to do it. And I grew up in Los Angeles. My mom spent her entire career in arts education and nonprofits. And so I was always surrounded by the art community. And so thinking about how to marry those two was kind of the aha moment of what ultimately became Jiggy. And our model is that we partner with emerging female artists and turn their original artwork into jigsaw puzzles.
That is so amazing. Before we go into our next question, I just out of personal curiosity, do you work mostly with like American or North American based artists, or is this more of like a global thing for Jiggy?
Yeah, all over the place. So that's been one really fun part of the job that, I think art is universal. And from the beginning, our debut collection in 2019 had 2 of the 6 were international artists. And now we're about 50-50. So it's been very fun to get to connect to and also support these artists who are really have taken that leap, as you do with entrepreneurship, to really support themselves with their work and chase that.
I absolutely love that. I feel like for artists especially, it can feel, incredibly pressure filled, right? Because you're not only trying to start a business, you're trying to start a business that's going to share a lot of who you are with the world. And it's hard enough to have a business idea that maybe doesn't quite connect with people you want it to. But like it's very vulnerable to be trying to make a living on your creativity. And honestly, it's very similar to what you're doing. You are trying to take an interest of yours and share that with the world. That's amazing. Now I know that you had appeared on Shark Tank to pitch your idea. I know that for me, at least, this was the first experience I ever had with this idea of trying to get funding and what that would look like. For those of us who, if that's the only kind of framework we have, what was it like to do that within Shark Tank, within that kind of, television ideal?
Yeah, I think there are definitely pros and cons. Some of the pros obviously just being the platform that it is and such amazing exposure and kind of the like tangential benefits of not just pitching the sharks, but everyone who watches the show, which yes, are consumers, so it's traffic and sales, but also other investors, potential partners, retailers. So there are a lot of kind of categories of potential business development besides an investment that can come from the show airing. But for me, I started out just bootstrapping and preparing for the show, which I think really preparing for a fundraising process at all, but especially when it's going to be on TV, it was a really helpful kind of forcing function to get clear on vision and to do some of the big picture deep thinking and strategizing that it's really hard when there's just so much day to day and you're in the weeds to like carve out that time and hold yourself to really thinking about what the vision is long term for this business when you're just going. And so I kind of saw it as an opportunity to do my homework and to really prepare both for the show, but also just for things that would be really beneficial to the company. And then ultimately, going on, you're like trying to balance, so many things at once. That was one of the more surreal experiences of my life, of just walking down the hallway, hitting the spot on the carpet, and then you have one take, cameras are on the whole time, and you're trying to explain the business, show your ability and confidence, but also just have good rapport, be likable. And so there were definitely a lot of things to juggle and think of at the same time, but ultimately it was a really, really positive experience, and the response from the airing has been so special and really big for the business.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. You're right. It does sound like a weird sort of like pressure cooker mixed with the exposure would be, immense. It's crazy, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, I'm still going back and scanning the chat. So if y'all have questions that you would like to ask, or you'd like me to ask, Kaylin, please feel free, submit those. If you have questions about starting your business, if you got, just please feel free to share those questions with us, or let us know what you're thinking about what, the stories that Kaylin is sharing with us today. All right. So from Shark Tank, you went on to self-fund Jiggy. Can you tell us a little bit about what led to that?
Yeah, so I felt, from the beginning, I was just really kind of approach it from like, how do I de-risk this a bit for myself? And of course, just taking that leap, quitting a full-time job, putting in any of your own money, and at that point, pretty much all of my savings. But I really wanted, I thought about, at the end of the day, how many, just through my network and friends and family, my mom helping, like how many units can I actually sell? And once I kind of got comfortable with that number, and that it wasn't, gonna financially ruin me, and that it was a risk I was comfortable taking, then put that seed money in. Definitely approached everything kind of the scrappy, quick and dirty kind of way. A lot of self-teaching, Googling, asking favors, using my network, and just really trying to stretch every dollar when bootstrapping, of course. And then once, we hit break even and hit profitability, I think then it's just, running a cash flow driven business of just being so intentional, taking very calculated risks, trying to be really clear on what expected return is. But I think what that can allow is just the freedom to, run the business you want to run and not have to be tied to certain, growth milestones, which might compromise other values, or, having to follow any kind of hyper VC narrative, double, triple sell, to really be able to build this business you want to build and kind of stay authentic to the vision you had. And so that was really important to me, especially how mission driven we are, and that we, have always been profit sharing with the artists who we partner with. I didn't want to have to compromise on any of our values or vision. And so I think if you can bootstrap and be smart with cash flow, that really enables that opportunity.
Very cool. Now, just as a question that occurred to me while we were speaking, you have a background in economics. Do you think that this is something that people can do without an econ background? I mean, I have like a mid-condition art history degree, never been used, mind you, but my background doesn't necessarily lead to somebody thinking, oh yeah, entrepreneur, business starter. Okay. What's your opinion on this? Do people need that econ foundation?
No, that's a great question. That's a great question. And I love kind of touching on that, because I think there are so many, one more professional experience I could have, one more skill set or academic background, or, there could always be more that you can put between yourself and starting something or taking that leap. For me, it was econ, but in a very liberal arts kind of academic way, not like business in terms of like accounting or modeling or anything that might actually be helpful in the day-to-day of running a business. Didn't get an MBA, had thought about that, if I should do, would it be irresponsible to start a business without going back to grad school, or I think on the tech, we're not necessarily a tech company, but even just being ecom, do I need more technical skills? So I think there can always be another thing, and there might never be a perfect time, but I think so much of entrepreneurship is learning on the fly, and you might think you know what you need to know, and there's probably some of that, but then there's so much more that you never could have anticipated needing to learn. So I think, having a strong, knowing where to find help, where to get resources, building your network and really investing in that, being really comfortable with kind of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and with the unknowns, being really hungry for it and willing to research and self-teach. But I do think much more kind of setting you up for success in entrepreneurship is that just adaptability, especially as we've seen in the last couple of years. I thought I was ready to start a business, was working on it 2018, launched in 2019, and then 4 months later, it's a global pandemic. And so that's an extreme example of circumstances constantly shifting, moving target all the time. But if it's not that, it's something else. You just never know. So I think it's so much more about mindset and being resilient and adaptable than any particular major or professional experience prior, or skill set.
Very cool. Okay. Now we did have a question coming in from the chat. Brittany had asked, how do you gain the confidence to pursue an idea that may not have profit, but you enjoy it? And what should you think about when it comes to making your idea profitable? So let's go really, really high level. When you were coming up with the idea for Jiggy, how did you move from I have an idea to having that confidence in the idea to sell it to other people?
Yeah, and that was definitely a journey. I probably rediscovered my love of puzzles and was doing them really often in 2014 and then didn't launch until 2019. So I had like 5 years. I mean, one, it was, I was at the Skim for 4 years. And so I was kind of fulfilled and excited by my work there. But it also gave me this kind of long lead time of really honing the idea and thinking about it and getting more conviction around it. And some things that really helped with that are one, just seeing kind of macro trends. So, from the start of even considering this to actually launching, there was like the adult coloring books and just overall like these conversations around meditation, headspace, calm, kind of the whole self-care entered the zeitgeist much more. Millennials with a burnout generation, these kind of macro trends that I thought were very applicable to what puzzles did for me and how I would want to position them if I were to actually sell them. And then I think really just like feedback from everyone and talking about it. I've said this before. Sometimes I think there's this narrative of like stealth mode, keep it close to the vest, like, don't share your idea until you're launching. And, maybe if there's like trade secrets or IP and you need to be smart about that. But like, I think in most cases, honestly, almost the opposite approach of, let people help not only give you energy about the idea. I didn't have a co-founder. I've done Jiggy myself as a solo founder. And so just having those conversations around like, what do you think? Is this crazy? Help me kind of flesh this out more. It gave me a lot of confidence when people would give feedback and be like, I totally buy that. And I'm like, okay, that's like at least 15 people now who are going to buy this. And I think, anything you can do to kind of test the appetite before actually diving in. You can start, building your wait list already. Throw up a landing page, collect emails, reach out to those people, do a short survey, create the social accounts and start to put out content around the type of product you're thinking of developing and see what the conversation is. So I think kind of testing the audience, starting to see if there's an appetite and building interest before you even launch, being open with the idea, getting feedback, ultimately kind of understanding the financials around it. What is your confidence in at least, not being uncomfortable with the outcome. And then really just looking at kind of trends, how this fits into the marketplace and getting more and more conviction around it.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I think you're right. It's very huge to kind of know, not necessarily know everything, but know what you don't know where you need to kind of fill in those knowledge gaps or, what questions to be asking. Both of yourself, of the company, of the product, but also of your customer. Who are you envisioning that needs this or could use this? I mean, as I was listening to you speak, all I could think was, I did the adult coloring book thing for a while. My husband still does it. It's very like, it's one of those kind of Zen things for him. It helps him to kind of turn off his brain and be able to sort of, calm for the end of the day, that kind of thing. Right. And, I've got puzzle doers in my family, but like, I don't know that we'd ever like color together in a way that we would play puzzles or like do, complete puzzles and sit around the dining room table or sit around the living room. And, it is one of those very uniquely positioned activities. I love that.
Yeah. To be a shared activity, social. I do them alone as my meditation, but when we're around holidays with the family, definitely kind of quality time. During the pandemic, it was so funny. We saw people, who either were quarantining alone and really, felt lonely at times, wanted to pass the time, certainly doing puzzles, but we also saw people use them as a point of connection and a friend group like all ordered the same one and then got on Zoom and did it together and we're like, this part's tricky, this, did you do edges first? Yeah, so definitely can build that that sense of community.
That's wonderful. All right, we only have 9 minutes left. I want to try and get to as many questions as we can. So I'll keep my eye on the chat in case anybody else has questions they want to share there. Now, I know that you had said that an idea that seems kind of straightforward can very easily prove to be more complicated. Can you tell us what you thought it would be like to create this business and then what actually happened? What kind of takeaways can people take from your journey and your experiences in starting a business?
Yeah, so I think a couple of different layers to that. The first being, I want people to have a takeaway from Jiggy and my story that it doesn't necessarily have to be like 0 to 1 innovative tech no one's ever done before. I think something that is organic, something you love, and coming at it from a different angle. I that was kind of a process for me leaving the skim, and I felt super like mission driven. I was there through the 2016 election. We got 100,000 women registered to vote, connecting this generation with current events every day. And I felt the impact of that. And so when I first started thinking about, the idea, I was like, am I really going to leave to like make puzzles? Like it almost felt kind of trivial. And I needed to kind of come at it from such a personal angle for me, which involves supporting artists and showing the path of a bootstrapping female founder and how one, I can just make the best product that I can and have it really bring people moments of joy, but also how can the company be more than puzzles. And so sometimes I've talked to some aspiring founders or students, and they're like racking their brains for just like such a again, like 0 to 1, like it has to be something nothing has ever done before. And I think sometimes it might just be right in front of you. It just needs like a fresh spin or a new take or your unique proposition to bring to that category or product. So that's kind of the first thing I mean by that it doesn't necessarily have to be, it can be a small idea or an idea that you've been inspired by before, but bringing something new to it. And then, certainly there are no easy businesses, I would say. Jiggy's my first physical product company. So a lot of the skim experience was transferable of just general startup life, how to get something off the ground, how to build an audience and community around a brand. But everything related to manufacturing, production, freight, fulfillment, logistics, customer service for a physical product, all of those issues were brand new and never simpler than it seems, especially in kind of the world we're living in of supply chains and freight, and still COVID's impact on all of that. So yes, a million kind of stories I could tell in the trenches of navigating my way through manufacturing. But again, at the end of the day, you kind of just, it's one foot in front of the other, know where your gaps are, ask for help, and you might have to learn some things the hard way, but hopefully you only learn every lesson once. That's what I aim for.
Yes, that is a very important one, right? You can try and not waste your time learning lessons multiple times, or in my case, learning them multiple in new and different ways. Very, very helpful to entrepreneurs out there. All right, in the last 5 minutes we have, we're gonna do a popcorn round. Okay, we're gonna do is a quick answer for this, as quick as we can give. Why did you zero in on art from emerging female artists? I know you talked about kind of taking a product and then figuring out what what really connects you to it. So why was it these emerging female artists for you?
So the art was really from my childhood and growing up in the art community in LA through my mom's work. And then I went to an all women's college. I went to Barnard, and I had friends. I think it was just so ingrained in me to anytime looking at an opportunity or an industry, like how is gender representation? How far has it come? How far do we have to go? And then kind of the moment where I was like, all right, this makes sense, is I was at a museum in Boston, Museum of Fine Arts, and there was a whole exhibit on female founder or female artists. And, on the wall in big block letters was like, can you name 5 female artists? And I was there with like very educated, 2 Harvard doctors, like a big group. And everyone was like, of course, of course, of course. And we were like, Frida Kahlo, Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yeah, that was going to be the next one.
No one could name 5 female artists. I was like, all right, that's it. We're gonna start at least with only female artists for Jiggy.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, again, art history major here, and I can name them, but most people are not going to be able to. And it's not a household name like, Van Gogh, Monet, like it's not an arena that women are necessarily well recognized. So hopefully this can be yet another step in exposing people to that kind of art in a new way. I love that. Okay. In the last 3 minutes we have, what do you want people to take away from this? Where can they follow up with what's going on with you? What should people know?
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things coming that I am really jazzed about. We, of course, have our collection puzzles, which are by all of these female artist partners. We also have started a puzzle club. So puzzles are addicting. They are, hopefully a habit and really a ritual for stress relief and self-care. They're connected to improved memory, sleep, decreased dementia, Alzheimer's, all these kind of brain health things. So we have a 500-piece puzzle every month, Puzzle of the Month Club. We are about to release kid sizes, which I'm very excited about. We include puzzle glue with each one. So when you're done, you can bind the pieces and turn it into an art print. So we've also released our own frame pairings.
Now that's genius.
We have a bunch of partnerships coming up, custom puzzles. If anyone has companies they work with, we do custom puzzles that people use for like employee gifting, VIP, kind of community engagement, fundraising for nonprofits. So a lot of collaborations coming up, and you can find us everywhere. It's Jiggy Puzzles, social handles, jiggypuzzles.com, and sign up for our email. We'll announce everything there first.
Oh, so cool. I just want to tell you, Kaylin, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your journey with us. This has just been wonderful. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So happy to be a part of this.